effective teaching and learning in the new world economy. Uh, and I'm going to briefly talk about the agenda. I'm aware of the time, so I want to make sure that I leave some the moments for Q&A. Education in the 2020, we did some forecasting. When I say we, I use a forecast that was done by one of our researchers several years ago, and those forecasts have been right on point all of 2020, with the exception of the impact. And I will talk about how the impact of the pandemic and how the pandemic has made some adjustments for that. Preparing for the new generation of students, the students that we have today, and I'm dating myself, are not like the students that we were or I was. 30, 40 years ago. It's a new kind of student, and we have to prepare for that student. Preparing students for the new world economy. The economy pre-pandemic, the worldwide economy pre-pandemic, and post-pandemic is going to be different. And inspire a love of learning for the students to be able to see the passion that we have, whether we are botanists, whether we are economists, whether we're mathematicians, or whether we're artists. Our students should be able to see our love for discipline. Um, and developing ecosystems of lifetime of learning and global collaborations. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The world is changing, and we must change too. Okay, uh, so I would like to ask that everyone mute. That way, everyone will be able to hear me, and I wouldn't have to be talking over some other folks. I'd ask you to do that. Uh, a prediction from the past. And I indicate that this is a forecast from another researcher. I'm not going to go out. I have a hot link to that. And oh, by the way, if you would like a copy of my presentation, I can give it to the organizer and make it available to you in case I talk too fast or my words are not succinct. Students will interact with others remotely. Now, students were already doing this in a very slow pattern pre-pandemic, but as someone said earlier, almost worldwide, we have been forced in a very short amount of time for students and teachers to learn how to learn without being face to face. And so, even without this prediction, this is happening much faster than many of us are even comfortable with. So this is one of the predictions that the pandemic helped to accelerate. The success of tech will still rely on skilled teachers. A lot of folks in the literature have been talking about how tech is going to come over and there won't be needs for human. In the work that we have done, in some of the research that we have done, there will be a need for human machine interface. There will be a need for skilled teachers. It's just that what we do may be different. We may facilitate learning more. We may be doing other kinds of things, but there will be a need for us as educators. So that is one of the predictions that I believe the pandemic has accelerated even more. Our students don't understand, many of our students don't understand a lot of the implications for teaching and learning, and we have to help them through that as instructors and educators of learning. We will think differently about the diploma, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Many of us as academicians hold very high regards for the complete diploma degree process. I will tell you, many of the corporations are starting to be more performance oriented, indicating that the academy has not produced enough talent fast enough for the transformation that the world is going through. And so they're looking for talent irrespective of degrees. And some of the major corporations are saying, if you come to us, even without your degree, and we can see some of the characteristics we are looking for, we will hire you. And let me give you one example of that. In IBM many years ago, and I was in IBM prior to coming to the academy, they would hire good musicians. Why? because musicians can read music, which is a system, a language, and they could learn how to code. So the demand is not going to be so much for what the degree is. The demand is going to be for how your students can perform in the marketplace that has a need for the skills that are changing faster than we know how to supply. Students will have a voice. I come from the time, and I'm just dating myself, where your mentor, your instructor, your leader, whatever they said goes. There was no feedback. There was no, student to teacher, I believe. But now the voices of the students are stronger. And I'll give you an example as I go along in my presentation, where they too, it's not just the industry saying they want it faster. The students want to be prepared faster, and their voice is getting louder. Education and institutions will be forced to adapt. And I will tell you, there are several institutions in the U.S. who have faltered before the pandemic, and the pandemic, I believe, will cause a merging. And the sad news is some institutions will not survive. The good news is those that survive, I believe, will be better and will prepare talent faster for the marketplace and at a higher quality because of the technology that they will use and the innovations, which is coming next, the presentation that's coming next, the innovations in the marketplace, in ed and tech. What will the impact of the pandemic be? We believe the impact of the pandemic is that trends that we had already started to see, as those mentioned earlier, are accelerating even faster. No one could have predicted even 6 months ago worldwide that we will, as educators, be forced to do remote education and remote learning. So the pandemic is enforcing and reinforcing trends of transformations and needs of change in everywhere, in most disciplines, in the marketplace. And so let me move on because I'm aware of my time. Preparing for the new generation of student. I already told you that the student is more vocal in many places and in many countries. We're going to have to be empathetic and understand the challenges of the new students we are serving. They are going through a time that they don't understand. I can tell you about the K through 12. Take, for instance, the little kindergarten, the first grade, second grade, the 7, 8-year-old. They have no idea of how to interpret not being able to be with their friends. They have no idea of how to interpret sitting in front of a screen all day, and that's the way their new learning is being delivered. So we're going to have to be a little bit more compassionate and empathetic with the students going through things that they just don't have the tools yet to process. So we need to be passionate about our teaching and learning and the changes that our students are going through. We need to create a safe and a rigorous learning community for them. The students need to feel safe that even though some of our faculty at the City University of New York, this is the first time they have engaged in online learning because they previously were primarily face-to-face instructors. And where we all are experts in our discipline, whether the discipline is English or a foreign language or the discipline is one of the sciences, we are expert in our disciplines, but we may not be expert in the delivery of online engaged quality learning. And so the technology is going to be used. It was coming anyway. The pandemic is accelerating our ability to use the technology. And what some of the literature says is that we may never go back to full 100 face-to-face, but the good news is that as we bring technology to more and more students, access to education will increase and improve. Okay, modes of, let me just, yes. Okay, preparing for the new generation of students. I applaud the organizers of this symposium. We have to find ways of refreshing ourselves. Many of us earned our terminal degrees many years ago, and some even a few years ago, but the world is changing so fast that we need to help do different things to prepare the students. Encourage active and experiential learning. And this is a little bit more difficult in the remote learning area. We did a lot of internships, taking the students into corporations, and scientists. It's taking it into the labs. But how do you do that in a remote environment? We took our students to, in terms of field study, we took our students to many, many different countries to let them know that countries with cultures and the way they did business and how businesses are launched are dependent on the people, and you can't do business without understanding the people. So even though our students can't physically travel as much, we can, over the internet and using the technology, we can share with them different cultures. I'll give you an example. I was doing a presentation for a group in India, and then on the presentation, Bangladesh. I was in Bangladesh in December of last year. The Bangladesh I saw in December of last year is very different from the Bangladesh that they showed me in May of this year. The streets were clear, the vendors, and this is causing a tremendous impact for people's incomes and their livelihoods, as well as health. So there's a dual crisis going on. There is a health crisis, but there is also a socioeconomic crisis that's going on. And so I want to get back to my slide. Involve our students in our research and our scholarships. The students see us as teachers and instructors, but they develop a love for research by working with us and seeing how we love the research and scholarship as well. I encourage you to publish and set your career goals. When you're doing your research and you and your lab and colleagues benefit, share that benefit with the world by publishing in journals and other media where your information can be shared. And collaboration. No one sector, especially in the post-pandemic world we will live in, no one sector can solve these problems. We need the academicians working on their research, but we also need government officials for the policy, and we need the industry to continue to work to provide needs and services for the broader economy. So we need to collaborate more and not work in our silos where we feel comfortable and we feel safe. Because as an economist, when I talk to another economist, they understand my language, but I have to have a different kind of language when I talk to lay or those outside of the field. But we have to get more comfortable with difference. Modes of teaching. I won't talk much about formal because that is what we do. I want to talk a little bit about self-directed ultra learning. Now, I have a video in here and I could link to it, but I think that will take me a little more time. So I will just talk to you about Scott Young. He was the author of Ultra Learning. And in 1 year, mind you, usually it takes us 4 years for a undergraduate degree in the U.S. In 1 year, he did an experiment with himself of completing the entire MIT, Massachusetts Institution of Technology, one of our premier technology institutes. He completed their computer science degree in 1 year. It's not just the industry pushing for faster learning to market. Our students want to be able to get to market. And some of them, it's not just because they want a job. Some of them want the innovation and some of the rewards and benefits for launching an entrepreneurial event, which use new applications and to be able to code and develop those applications. And so they are willing to go online, and we have more and more access to online learning and get it for themselves. And with that, it's not like he was even trying to sell that back to a corporation. With that, he wanted to develop innovations for himself and to be able to launch businesses and new opportunities. And so we have two forces pushing us as we have two forces, and we have two forces pushing us, uh, uh, both the students and the industry. We have many industry collaborations. I mentioned to you IBM. IBM is also working with the City University of New York to change our curriculum so it will be more, uh, uh, so it will be more for what is going to be needed in the future. A lot of times, as academicians, we don't know what's coming down the pipe. Industry knows because they are facing it more and they have more resources. So, industry collaborations are important. Introducing more theory and real world applications is important. I can't say this enough. A lot of times our students can't connect to the theory. They want to know, how's this going to solve a real world problem? And we have to be in better positions to share that with them. Instruction should be student centric. I want to also say that a lot of times we as instructors, we as lecturers, feel that we have taught. But in the new world, it is not about just the teaching. It's about, has the student learned? How have you helped the student cross that bridge where real learning is done? Be transparent in your own passion for learning. A lot of times we talk, but some of these new students, they're not looking at what we say. They're looking at what we do and how we're passionate about our own learning and development and how we can transfer that passion of learning to them. And love of learning as a skill will become a lifetime benefit. Many of you are doing what you do not because someone is making you do it, but you truly are committed to the mission of your craft, of your science, of someone asked me, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I am not here because someone told me to be here. I am here because I truly believe that we as a group of educators will need to change and transform in order to help our students transform this world that we live in that we don't quite understand because of all the ambiguity that the pandemic, a world-class, worldwide pandemic has caused. So a part of why I do this work as an economist, I do believe that there is global wealth and income disparities in education. Education changed lives. I can tell you, I'm the first in my family to have had a college degree, and it has changed my lives. I have 5 sisters and brothers, and every single one of them now has a college degree, and most have advanced degrees. And it has changed our income trajectory for our lifetime earnings. And so that's why I believe education is so important, and the work that we do is so important. Exploring options for increasing utilization of global talent. Land, it may not be as mobile, but the other factors of production, talent, as well as capital is more and more mobile. And so that means production all over the world can be more and more mobile. I believe there is hope for the future in teaching innovations. I don't say that we have all the answers, but I do believe that we're going to be forced to produce better teaching innovations. And if not us, the students that we are preparing will be preparing new innovations to help us educate more and more diverse talent all over the world. And then unity and community and capacity building, as I said, we couldn't do it alone. And this last bullet, need for improved global listening. It's easy to talk as lecturers. We do that as part of our craft. But what we need to do is get better to listening to our students, listening to others who don't talk the same language. And when I'm saying that, I'm an economist, but I have to listen to the scientists. I have to listen to the musicians. I have to listen to the artists. I have to listen because the kinds of problems we are solving, we need everyone's input. To develop new effective leaders, we need new methods of teaching, and they are coming. To meet the new dynamic marketplace demands, students must learn how to learn, and that is going to be a lifetime endeavor for those who stay in the marketplace. Now, and I will also say the technology will give us the benefits of being able to retire sooner, those who want to retire. But if you're passionate like we are about what we're doing, we work because we love the work, and retirement is distant whenever we want to do it. Lifelong learning will increase in the new economy, and this is my final point: industry, government, and academic partnerships will accelerate in teaching and learning. And I believe that I have done it in my allotted time. And so I'm going to try to unshare my screen now. Okay. So if you have, yeah, stop share. Okay. Yeah, if you have questions, there you have it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable and deep thoughts. We are highly grateful to you.
Thank you.
We feel honored and gracious for the presence of our next international speaker, Professor Dr. Thomas Pogue. He's received his PhD in philosophy from Howard. Thomas Pogue is a Leitner professor at Yale. Pogue is a member of Norwegian Academy of Science as well as co-founder of Academic Stand Against Poverty, an international network aiming to enhance the impact of scholars, teachers,